Hello, Board Goober here. So, just for some information, because I don't know if all of y'all read the description, which if you want some really big information, go check it out. That has big information and big lore, how this book is in the fictional world of Lassandra, how that book affects that world. But basically, in this world, in the real world, book fictional. But in Lassandra, book is an autobiography. Sorry, it took me a minute to remember which one it was. Yeah, in Lassandra book autobiography, and it was written by this person named Arin Wind. They will become very important. When that is for me to know and you to find out, and yeah. But they will become very important. But all you need to know, Arin Wind wrote book, based off of diary she found about Elda. Then, went ahead and, published it and made website. Website will also be on the screen, during the entire thing, and I will have the entire, book for chapter one, in description. So if you want to read along, do that. Uh, yeah. So, have fun listening. Yeah. Bye bye. I woke up before anyone. The orphanage was quiet. It always was. The sun was coming up over the horizon, yet it didn't light up the tiny, nearly non-existent patches of grass on the dry ground, or the rusty wire fence that trapped the orphans. I didn't need the light. I got up from bed, making sure not to hit my head on the bed above me, cramped in the space that was called a triple bunk bed. Then I opened the bedroom door, stepped through the doorway, and closed it, making sure not to step on the creaky planks that were outside every bedroom. I walked down the hall, leaving small splinters in my feet. I went past the bathroom where I could see that the tiles were starting to grow mold, and past the kitchen, the smell of cinnamon buns and rotting fruit making me feel sick. I would decide later not to eat breakfast. I walked through the playgroom. The old fading carpet and broken toys from decades ago made this room feel like it was meant to be in a fading museum. Old, forgotten, in a place of sorrow instead of joy. I carefully stepped over what I could only assume was once a train set. The only recognizable thing was a conductor's hat. Then I opened the door that led to the back garden, the old rusty hinges squeaking as I did. I walked over to the shed, the stone path and grass beneath my feet feeling gentle against the splinters and scratches on them. I opened the shed door, the old wood creaking and the hinges squealing. I walked through the doorway, the bugs on the cement scattering away to the shadows of the small area. As I flicked on the light, the wasps and moths in their small nest atop the roof beams flew to it, to be zapped and killed by the electric current that went through the light's small cage. I felt like the bugs, wanting to go to somewhere better, to escape, but locked out, not able to see any other way out of my own cage. I grabbed a bottom mattress from the shelf, the rats scurrying away as I did, and then I grabbed some cigarettes from another shelf, and a small bottle of Maninchka juice from a cabinet. The spiders looking at me but not doing anything. I turned off the lights and left the shed. The garden behind the shed was a husk of its former self. The once beautiful flowers and wildlife that I only seen in old pictures from decades before was gone. The supposed bushes had turned to ash, and the once beautiful daisies and starflowers having died and decomposed long before I was sent to the orphanage. The trees were just branches, and as I accidentally bumped into one, the few branches left fell into the ground, turning to dust as soon as they hit the dry dirt paths. The only thing that wasn't dust, or so fragile that it would turn to dust from just a slight breeze, was the old yew tree. It was around 20 feet tall, but I could imagine it when it was alive. I could imagine the green leaves, the fresh yew berries, and the children climbing it to see who would get to the top but look down without getting afraid first. But that was then. Now I had no leaves. Its bark a dull, almost gray-brown. Many of the branches were gone, only the longest and sickest ones still there and able to be grabbed without disintegrating. Yet one thing always made this tree somehow more sad. I had heard stories from the older kids in the orphanage cook that some people who had problems that the orphanages counselor couldn't solve would climb to the swing for a minute, and then go over the ropes, falling out of the swing and into the shallow, rocky water below. the person let go too early, they would fall onto the edge of the cliff on the other side of the fence that surrounded the orphanage's property. Most times they would just fall off the edge and into the water before anyone could climb over the fence and save them. The times that they were rescued, they would be taken to Man's Island across the ocean. From what I've heard, they've never been seen again. The only reason I know about this is because of my friend of mine, Jack. He was sent to Man's Island when I was 7. We were best friends, which so much seemed horrible. He was there to help me back on my feet. Then he took the jump, and then he was sent to Man's Island. That was 7 years ago. He's still gone. For a while, I thought he would come back, but I've learned that when someone leaves, they never return. I put the bottle of Manichka juice in the front pocket of my dress, the added weight making me stumble a small bit. And once I was ready, I began climbing. I got up to the swing and stopped. The usual feeling of dread and uneasiness was gone, replaced by a feeling that I couldn't place. I could feel the past pains. Jack leaving, being alone, Mom and Dad. I shook my head, pushing those thoughts back, and continued climbing. At the top of the tree, where the biggest branches connected, was a bowl-like platform. I put the Manichka juices down, climbed over onto the platform. The sun's warmth washed over me, and the first time in a long time, I smiled. Even though this tree was dead, I could still feel what it once was. Those happy memories made all the bad stuff drift away. As I lay down, the sun covering me in its warmth, a bottle rolled off the platform. I hadn't noticed until I heard somebody yelp in pain. I jumped. For a second, my heart stopped. I had been up here before, and before the old lady that ran the orphanage told me to get down. She would say that girls were meant to be on the ground and be quiet. Boys could do anything else. I looked down, but instead of seeing the old lady, I saw someone else. They looked to be around my height, 5'2", and they wore a long robe, covering their entire body with leather and cloth patched together. They also wore leather gloves and a hood with a mask covering their face and hair. The hood had strange antlers made out of wood protruding out of them, one of them dented from the Manichka juice bottle that had fallen from the tree. They were rubbing their head, keeping the gloves and hood on. Then they looked up. I could see many holes in the mask, small but big enough to be seen out of. Maybe the amount of eyes and what type of species they were, a mystery. The mask was covered with strange lines and small symbols. They seemed to be spell blockers. I'd read about them from the library that the old lady never let me in. That's why I grabbed the cigarettes, because to get into the library, I had to bribe the hall monitors, who always smoked in the halls, which, although would cause a fire, got me into the library so I could read the book and learn about the world outside the orphanage. My train of thought was interrupted as the person began climbing the tree. I felt panic rush into my body. I didn't know this person. What if they were working with a lady? I didn't want to go to the cellar, not again. I began climbing down the tree in the opposite side that I had come, my hands shaking as I grasped and clung to the branches, bark that still remained. As I put my foot on a branch, it snapped, making me lose my balance. I panicked, and seeing the swing a few feet away from me, I launched off the tree and onto it. My hand grasped it, squeezing for dear life. My hands were sweating now, and I could feel my grasp slipping. As I tried to grab at anything else, the rope, the tree, anything, my hand slipped off the wood. For a second, the world stopped. My body felt light, and my heart slowed down to nothing. Then I began to fall. The air rushed past my face, making my hair blow past my skin. My dress blew up, the cloth whipping like the wind, like a flag in a hurricane. The branches, everything began to disappear, and for a second, I was afraid that I would close my eyes and I would never open them again. But I still closed my eyes. And I let my muscles relax and my mind slipped. I passed out before I hit the ground.